You're still listening to Kumbang channel and this is KT News. Migrant workers are now willing to overstay in mainland China to work jobs with higher pay than they can earn in Macau, according to Asia Times report. The lack of a fixed minimum wage and the high cost of living in Macau are prompting foreign domestic workers to illegally overstay in China, where wages are higher, Macau Daily Times reported earlier this week. In China, domestic workers who are proficient in English are sought after by employers who want their children to learn foreign languages. Migrant workers seeking to do so are able to acquire a 144 visa, which allows visitors to enter Zhuhai and return to Macau on the same day for only 35 Macanese Pataka. However, the visa requires that visitors must travel in groups of a minimum of 3. Some are using the visa to enter Zhuhai without returning, many of them doing so in order to seek jobs as domestic workers. There they can earn 5,000 to 6,500 yuan per month, which is considerably higher than a domestic worker's wage in Macau or in Hong Kong. The lower cost of living in China also plays a factor. Apart from the domestic workers, agents are also able to rake in profits, charging as much as 20,000 yuan when they link a domestic worker with a potential employer. With the power of the incumbency and a massive outpouring of votes from his fellow Javanese making the greatest difference, Joko Widodo appears to have outpaced rival Prabowo Subianto in Wednesday's highly anticipated presidential election in Indonesia. Quick count results and exit polls, both of which have proved accurate in the past, showed President Widodo with a lead of 9 to 10 percentage points, or around 55 to 45%, after a peaceful campaign where the intertwined issues of religion and identity politics were major factors among Indonesia's 193 million eligible voters. That was underscored not only by Widodo's choice of conservative cleric Maruf Amin as his running mate, but also by his exclusive election eve visit to the inner sanctum of the Kaaba, the centerpiece of Islam's holiest mosque in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Despite Wednesday's simultaneous presidential and legislative polls being the world's largest single-day election, spanning just 6 hours, it was also the most accessible, with 805,000 polling stations catering to an average of 200 voters, compared to 600 in 2014. In the parliamentary elections, Widodo's ruling Indonesian Democratic Party for Struggle (PDIP) looked to be headed for marginally its biggest haul of seats since the country's first new era democratic elections in 1999, thanks almost entirely to the popular president's coattails. Prabowo's Great Indonesia Movement Party Gerindra enjoyed the same benefits of having a presidential candidate, challenging the once all-powerful Golkar machine for the runner-up position and setting up the opposition for a new run at the presidency in 2024. With no obvious heir apparent, Widodo may have only 2 years to burnish his legacy before he becomes a lame duck, and the scramble begins to find a successor from among a new generation, which is likely to include Prabowo's popular running mate Sandiaga Uno. Several sources have told Asia Times the president is already considering a sweeping cabinet reshuffle soon after the official election results are known early next month, which would give him a flying start when his new government is formed next October. Widodo is likely to be unhappy at failing to reach 60% of the vote, the target met by predecessor Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono in winning a second term in 2009, given the disappointment he showed when posters told him he wasn't going to clear the threshold. Australian National University analyst Marcus Miesner says while the election was largely a reply of 2014, it reflected trends which suggested a growing polarization between the Java heartland and the outlying islands, Sumatra and Sulawesi in particular. Widodo picked up his biggest gains in the populous provinces of Central and East Java, winning with a provisional 76% and 65% of the vote respectively, compared to 66% and 53% in the last election, and defying predictions of a tight contest in East Java. Mietzner describes that virtual landslide to Nahdlatul Ulama NU, the moderate mass Muslim organization, which had warned Widodo last August to dump his favored vice presidential candidate Mahfud MD in favor of conservative cleric and NU stalwart Maruf Amin. As a result, the controversial move led to the NU leadership mobilizing its formidable apparatus behind the president, with major pesantrens or Islamic boarding houses in places such as Situbondo on Java's northeast coast switching from their previous allegiance to Prabowo. Meanwhile, according to Quick Count, Joko Widodo is leading despite his rival Prabowo already claiming victory, raising eyebrows not only those in Indonesia, but also many overseas, including various foreign media. The Australian newspaper even went on to publish an article titled "Loser Prabowo Claims Victory on Indonesia." Christians all over the world are celebrating Easter, but the whole world has been saddened by the bombing of 3 churches and 3 big hotels, as well as a few guest houses in Sri Lanka's capital of Colombo today, so far resulting in the death of 160 people, while more than 500 others have been injured. The death toll is expected to continue to rise amid the curfew imposed by the Sri Lankan government. The attacks have been claimed by ISIS, who used parcel bombs. The Sri Lankan government recently attempted to close down cells of ISIS in the island nation, and this could be seen as retaliation, according to several media reports. On behalf of KT News, I'd like to ask our listeners to have a moment of silence as our prayer goes out to those affected, starting now. And finished. Legislative Assembly AL, President Ho Yat-seng has announced that he has decided to run in the chief executive election later this year. Ho, an indirectly elected lawmaker representing the city's business sector, is the sole Macau member of the Elite Standing Committee of the National People's Congress NPC. That's our first flash news around Macau. And next, the local police are investigating a case in which a teaching staff member at a local school, the Colegio Diocesano de São José, beat a pupil at the school premises several times last month, according to Public Security Police (PSP), who received the report from the victim's parents. However, the police did not reveal the victim's gender and age, but the alleged school is known to run classes from P3 to P6. A report by a local Portuguese newspaper, Jornal Tribuna de Macau, points out that the teacher involved is a female Portuguese language teacher, who in one incident allegedly beat the pupil during lunchtime in the school when school children were lining up. The report also says that the victim is a boy. The new rubella case in town involved a 44-year-old man, which brought the number of the rubella case in Macau to a total of 20 cases since the beginning of this year, according to the Health Bureau. Macau Secretary for Social Affairs and Culture, Alexis Tam, has called for strengthened protection of the city's heritage sites, citing Monday's blaze that gutted the world-famous Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. The Macau Post Daily reported, quoting a statement by the Cultural Affairs Bureau recently. For the weather this week, after having some rain throughout the week, Macau will get some sun for the next couple of days, when the weather is predicted to be sunny and cloudy, before the rain is expected to return again towards the weekend. Temperature tomorrow will be between 24 and 30 degrees Celsius, while throughout the week the lowest temperature is predicted to be between 24 and 25 degrees, while the highest temperature will range from 28 to 31 degrees. For more information about the local weather, visit www.smg.gov.mo. That's all for tonight's KT News. Getting back to our music, this is Ecclesia Vocal Ensemble again with a song called Sukacita dari Tuhan Still in the Easter Special. Continue to listen to Kumbang channel. Kumbang, kumpul bareng yo.